Hello friends and welcome to the Tao of Goblin. Today we're going to talk about performance. This talk was brought about by a question on Reddit asking, what tricks do you find to be most impressive to a crowd? I actually want to say that I think that question is kind of wrong. I mean, not wrong, but I think you're not understanding the way that performance actually works. So what I mean by that is when you look at setting up a performance for an audience, you have to keep some things in mind. There's two main things. One, what is your goal? And two, who is your audience? So to start with, I'm going to give a consistent goal, which I think a lot of people are after. I want to impress this audience. I want to make money off of this audience. I want to get booked for more shows by people in this audience, right? This is pretty common among jugglers, performers in general. So we'll start with that. And I want to give you an analogy here. So think about it like this. When you're playing music for a group of people, do you think about what tracks you can put on that are going to be most impressive to them? Probably not. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of that, but in general, you could say, well, I'm going to just put on Sandstorm, and people who don't know about electronic music are going to be like, doo-doo-doo-doo, and they're going to be really into Sandstorm, and that may be true for a certain audience of people. So as a performer, you have to be considering what material are you presenting to your audience, and why are you presenting that material? In the juggling world, I would say it's something like this. If you're on the streets busking, you might do tricks like while eating the apple, hum, hum, or, putting the ball on the head, woo, woo. And those tricks are going to play off really well with a completely non-juggling crowd, a non-dance crowd. For the average person on the street, that sort of clowning activity is going to be really impressive to them and really fun to watch. It also has the benefit of, as a busker, you want to look at your audience and talk directly to them. You're trying to get them to give you money. So as having that goal, you want to be able to engage, and you don't really want up the difficulty level. Doing things like back crosses isn't going to really impress them in the same way, right? They'll like it, but not in general as much as more clowny sorts of tricks. Well, what's another audience type? Let's talk about a corporate environment. Say maybe you're at Amazon performing. If you're at Amazon performing, your set of tricks is going to need to be a little bit different, right? You're dealing with a bunch of engineers, marketers, corporate environment types of people. They're probably going to be impressed by different things. At least in my experience, they are. In those crowds, I find that body tricks, under the legs, right? These sorts of tricks, or repeated under the legs, or whatever. Maybe it's behind the backs or shoulder rolls. All those sorts of tricks go over much better with that sort of a tech crowd. They really enjoy those tricks more, and they're really looking to see what sorts of variations you can put on something like juggling. Very different from a crowd that would be watching you busk. One more example of a different audience. You're at the IJA. Now what sorts of tricks do you want to do? Well, they're probably not going to be impressed by under the legs. They've seen these tricks a billion times. They might want to see you do some back crosses. I'm not going to do full back crosses here because of the studio I'm in, but it's a good example of a trick they might like to see. Back crosses, 3 up 360s, right? In general, you're probably going to want to have 5 or 7 if you're in the IJA environment, because they're going to want to see the additional skill requirement on your tricks, but they're going to be less impressed by, say, something more flowy like, sets of Mills mess tricks or columns tricks. In general, they're going to not really be like, wow, that's so cool, because to them, they're like, well, I know what those tricks are, but that's not generally what the IJA does. So you've got to look at who your audience is and try and perform to them. On the other hand, your goal may not be to impress people. Your goal may be to show off what you do. In my case, I come from a more flow-oriented style, and I'm not really trying to make juggling a career. I like juggling on the internet, and I like showing what I do, and I like getting booked for shows, but it's not the end-all be-all for me. I have another career. So making money isn't my goal, and really what I'm more interested in is showing off what I do, showing off the variations I do, my flow style. So in that case, I actually play less to the audience I'm at, because I'm less worried about their impressed level. I don't care if they come away from my show saying, I want to book this guy. There's cases where that's not true, but at the end of the day, for me, that's not my main objective, which means that the tricks I show in these different environments will depend on my mood. Sometimes I like to impress people and I'll play up to my crowd, but sometimes I won't because my objective won't be to do that. I think when we ask the question, what tricks impress a crowd, we're asking the wrong question and showing a basic misunderstanding of what performance art is. End of the day though, you could be in a play and you've memorized your lines and you can't change your lines. And if that's what you're doing, that's cool. But when you deal with a play, you know going into it that regardless of the audience, you're still going to perform the same act. I think that's true of a lot of professional jugglers. They have an act they're going to perform. They've got to perform 3, 4, 5 times a week. At that point, you have your act and you're going to play it. Same thing could be said of professional DJs. They have their track sets. They're going to go and play their track lists and they're going to play them and they're going to be great transitions and great mixes. But end of the day, you're not going to hear the playing to the crowd with a lot of these guys that you would with people who play less, who have more time to think about what they're going to play to each individual audience. What I'm trying to say is you need to decide what kind of performer you want to be, and then you can decide which tricks are your best tricks, which ones fit well for you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. You can push my subscribe button and then you'll get more content from me. And then we can hang out together more, which will be great for you and great for me because I'm just so happy to be talking to you. I hope you have a good day.